What's up, guys? It has been a little bit, but we are back, and we are back with my good friend Devin Foster out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania these days. But um, got an awesome background. We met through work, and it really didn't take us long at all to become friends. I think immediately when I saw Devin at work, I was like, how can I be more like this guy? He was crushing it. So, Devin, I appreciate you joining, and let's get right into it, man. How's it going?
It's going well, and that's not true. You saw me, and you were like, "Did I choose the right place to work?" But and it turns out you didn't. But we were just working the wrong job at that time, and we figured it out. But things are well, man. I mean, life is crazy. It's cool how you can come from different parts of the world and meet people who have an impact and become good friends even in the later stages of your life. Like I think of high school friends and things like that, people that I don't talk to as much. I talk to you as much as anyone, and it's wild. So happy to be on here, man, and happy to answer whatever you got, man, to shoot the shit, if you will. Can you curse on here? I'm gonna
You
I'm gonna
can,
push the
you
limits
can.
right off the bat.
You can definitely speak your mind on here, dude. And we will not edit it out. But yeah,
Cool.
dude, I remember like walking into the company we work for now, Phenom, and I was like, who is this guy with a Kanye West sticker on his laptop? Like he's wearing like I forget what you were wearing, but I was like, all right, this guy's like there was something about you. I was like, interesting. I was like, I wonder if he's like gonna be able to like work. You just looked like someone I'd go to the bar and hang out with. And I was like, I saw you on a call and I was like, oh my goodness, like this guy's like my age and he's talking about things that are way over my head at the time. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is awesome. Like I want to be this guy's friend immediately. But then like, come to find out we like soccer, we like
Yeah.
business, obviously. Like both, you're not really Philly suburbs. I guess you don't really call these from Sea Isle, which we'll get into, I'm sure.
Long
Um,
Long Beach Island. Long Beach Island.
Long Beach Island. What,
Yeah.
dude? I get them all mixed up. The only
It's the
ones that I
shore
have
towns,
down,
dude.
yeah,
They're not.
the short towns are kind of all the same in my head. Long Beach Island, the Chicken or the Egg, which they actually have a
Yeah.
location around my
Hmm.
house now, which I frequent. So, but yeah, just very like minded individuals right off the bat, and quickly made a friendship. And it's been 5+ years, and like you're saying, dude,
Yeah.
it's great. Like talk to you probably more than people from high school, which that's probably pretty normal. It's to some extent, but also it's like, dude, it's cool that you can maintain a relationship with somebody from work, and
Yeah.
obviously really appreciate your friendship. And you're really a mentor to me, dude. I look up to you in a lot of ways. And Devin's got his own podcast, but it's a corporate pod. We can definitely plug the
Yeah.
corporate pod, Talent Experience Live, on Thursdays on LinkedIn, guys. Check that
Yeah.
out. So definitely look up to Devin as sort of a big brother in my life. But yeah, dude, why don't you start off just kind of way back at the beginning? Like, tell me what it was like to grow up in Long Beach Island. Like, that's because a lot of people that grew up near me, you look at the shore and it's really a summer thing.
Yeah.
So, like, what is it like in the winter? Like right now in December, what would it be like to grow up in that area? If you could just kind of kick us off with that.
Yeah, man. Well, it's different. And also thank you for saying that about me being professional from time to time. I know how to turn it on. That's how I got the jobs. But no, I mean, growing up, so we moved to LBI when I was in the fourth grade. And I had just lived on the other side of the bridge, so Manahawkin, New Jersey, for those who may be familiar. And then we moved to the island, and Manahawkin's your typical suburb, right? You have your Walmart, your supermarkets, things like fast food joints. The island was completely different. So there was an ordinance on the island that didn't allow any chain restaurants. So everything that was there was like family owned, with the exception of like an Acme and a movie theater. And I stayed there almost all the way up until I finished high school. But I loved it. Like it was awesome to wake up in the morning and go to the beach. Summers were fantastic. Uh, we hated the terminology back when I was a kid was Shoobies. So we hated all
Shoobies.
the
Yeah.
PA kids. Funny, like the Long Beach Island's changed so much like over the years, where it's almost priced itself out of a lot of I would say like normal, everyday working class families. Now it's, the hedge fund managers from New York. There's a number of celebrities that vacation on the island, and that was always cool. And it's really shaped who I am today. I would, be skateboarding, down the street. I'd see Ray Romano. I'd have breakfast next to Jon Stewart and stuff like that. And it was really instilled in me that they're just regular people. And now I live in the city, live in Northern Liberties, and when Matisse Thybulle lived here, I'd see him getting coffee like all the time. Seen Fletcher Cox hop out of his car and going. They're always easy to spot too. It's always significantly nicer cars, and they're about 6'5", all of them.
Yeah,
So
yeah, they're
they
huge.
stick out like sore thumbs. But no. So I mean, I think the island was crazy. It was moderately depressing at times. Like, and I was a kid, so like I didn't know what depression was, but like you go out and like the traffic lights are turned off. You can lay down in the middle of Boulevard. Like speaking of high school friends, like probably the reason why I've fallen out of touch with a lot of them is because it's a different lifestyle there in the winter, right? Like they surf and they put their wetsuits on and everything like that, but there's no activities. And it's one of the reasons that I was drawn to Philly was there's always something going on. I went to college in Florida, just outside of Jacksonville, and whenever I wanted to go to an event outside of the Jaguars, I'd have to drive to Orlando, I'd have to drive to Tampa, I'd have to drive to Miami. Here in the Northeast, like everything's so close, there's always something to do, and that's why I love living in the city. With my daughter, I'm sure we'll get into that, but it's easy to, for it to be a Friday night for me to hop on my bike and go pick up milk, go pick up beer, whatever it may be, and also today I went to the doctor. I never got in a car. I was back from the doctor's office in 8 minutes. Like I couldn't say that on the island because where I lived, everything was a half an hour away. So um, I like the proximity, the liveliness, and it's part of the reason why I didn't enjoy LBI. We hated the Shoobies, man. We hated it. You guys ran the whole economy. Like I'm old enough now to understand, like you're the reason that I worked 4 months out of the year and I could buy things that I wanted in the winter. You don't know that when you're, 13, 14, 15 years old.
Yeah. Now, like, is it in the wintertime? Are there a lot of people that are like, let me get down to Florida? Like, is everybody like, I need to be around the beach? Like, do people just leave, or does a good majority like stay down like you guys did?
No, I mean, so the elementary school, I graduated from LBI Elementary, and it was a graduating class of 50. So we graduated in sixth grade. I know that's a weird thing for PA. I think it's seventh or fifth grade. You might graduate
Fifth
from
grade, yeah,
elementary
yeah.
school. But there was an even more like desolate school on the island in Beach Haven, which had like a graduating class of like five
Oh
and then we
wow.
all shipped off to the same high school, Southern Regional on the mainland is what we called it because we were beach kids. But for the most part, I mean, people stayed. There were, obviously, summer folks who would come down and spend the entire summer there, and then they would frolic back to their areas of the globe. But um, I mean, with the exception of like the real estate developers and stuff, like most of the people that lived on the island were like working class folks who, their parents would wait tables in the winter, or in the summer, excuse me. Their parents. My dad was an ice cream man in the summer for a number of years, like, and they made bank doing it. Like
Oh
it
heck
was
yeah.
awesome to supplement their income, but um, yeah, I mean, winters you stayed inside. That everybody partied on the beach for the most part. I wasn't a huge partier. I don't want to give that impression in high school. College is when I really picked up my partying habits. But yeah, I mean, that's where there were a lot less cops. There were a lot of, I won't call them empty homes, but a lot
Mhm.
of like places where some kids' parents were out of town and they
Right.
didn't have any neighbors on their block. So the only dead giveaway was obviously the cars, right? But there were very rarely like noise complaints and things like that because nobody's there at all. But yeah, that was winters were fun, but also really it was cold, man. It's just cold on the
Yeah.
beach.
Now, so is that like half the reason you want to get out to Florida? Where like, because I mean, you weren't in a beach town in Florida, right?
It was close.
Close enough.
So yeah, so I went to Flagler College, and I wanted to be in a warm climate. I like
Yep.
enrolled in community colleges out in California, and then I got a discounted application from Flagler. So I just submitted it. I was like, cool, $75. That's cheaper than anything that I'm paying in California to apply, which is a racket, dude. Can we talk about that for a second? It's just, hey, imagine if like you were looking for a job and they were like, hold on, do you have $15 that we can take for you first? No, colleges,
Insane.
it's like, we're going to charge you 30 grand a year, but also $75 to even see if we're interested. So hold on another story, but
So
um,
crazy.
Flagler accepted me. I drove down for a weekend, and it is about 15 minutes from the beach. So like
Okay. Pretty close.
a
Yeah.
lot of kids lived. It was very similar to like my hometown. So there's like downtown St. Augustine, which is like the historic district. It's a beautiful town. Philadelphia people are going to get upset, but it's the oldest city in America, according to them.
Is it really?
Um, yeah, so the Ponce de Leon landed there. So obviously Christopher
Wow.
Columbus, like
Yeah, yeah,
Bermuda,
yeah.
Ponce de Leon settled in St. Augustine. And they have like the Fountain of Youth is historically there. They have like a whole resort. I've tried the water. I still need Botox, so it didn't work. Um,
Not need
but
both. Get out of here.
neither here nor there. Yeah, so there's like a downtown area and then a beach front. So there was like the surfer kids were the beachfront. I crashed my car in college and stopped going to the beach, and that's kind of where I fell out of, I guess, love for that island lifestyle, and decided to move up north a little bit. But yeah, I mean, it's a beautiful little town. I'll shout out St. Augustine, not necessarily shout out Flagler. But yeah, it's a cool
Dude.
place. I recommend it to
Yeah,
everybody.
you were an island boy. It's just I never
Yeah.
think about that. So like
Yep.
what about the car crash you think made you like is that the moment you look at you're like, "Oh yeah, you know what? I need to get away from the beach."
Yeah, I like it's not even. So it wasn't even like I was driving to work. So and I crashed. This is a funny thing. I crashed into a boat. People are like, "What did you drive into the water?" No, like I was not. I was listening to. I think it was 50 Cent at the time. I was really digging my
Heck yeah.
music, and I looked like in my rear view mirror for a second, and a boat stopped to pull off like onto where they launch is what it's
Right.
called, and I ran right into the back of it. It like destroyed my car. And for a while there, I was like biking to and from work, like, and I was just waiting tables, like it wasn't tables, whatever it was. It wasn't anything
Yeah.
serious, and I couldn't do it anymore. So like because it was so distant, like it was a bit of a hike to get to the beach. I stopped going.
Ah, that
Like
makes
I
sense.
Yeah, and I walked everywhere. Like that's probably a closer connection to like why I love the city so much was
Yeah.
I walked to work then. Like I changed jobs. I walked to work. I walked to the bars. I walked everywhere, and it was college. So like I know I'm a couple years older than you, but we didn't have Ubers. I don't think you didn't have Ubers, did you in college?
By my like senior year, it was starting,
Okay.
and we had by my senior year, dude, we had like cheap Ubers. I could get
Oh
anywhere in
yeah,
the city for like 10, $15 max. It was like now
good.
it's $40 to get anywhere. It's like, what is going
Yeah.
on? But
No, it's absurd. We would call the cab and do that whole thing. But yeah, like that's I like just wrecked my car. I didn't have enough money to get another car, and then I think like my senior year, a couple of my buddies we all like pitched in money for like 1992 Chrysler LeBaron, and we kind of split it amongst us. But my one buddy George was from Bermuda, so he didn't have a driver's license. My other friend, I won't name him on this because he did have a DUI at that time, so he didn't have like insurance or anything. So the car was registered to me, and like we all kind of just used it and shared it, and then they went their separate ways. I kept the car and stayed down in Florida for 3 years after graduation, and then decided I needed to get closer to the cold.
heck yeah, dude. And was Philly your first destination out of college?
Uh, I mean, it kind of. So I went to school in St. Augustine and then moved to Jacksonville, technically. So it's just
Right.
up the road. It's like the same. Got my first big kid job and a third party logistics company. And then, believe it or not, worked for Merrill Lynch, Bank of America. and did that and hated it, and then got back into the recruiting world. But my big thing was I always wanted to move to New York, and I couldn't afford it, especially like wages in Florida compared to up here. It just wasn't the same. So I didn't even know what to ask for when it came to jobs. Ended up landing in Philly through like a couple of different connections, and moved up. Stayed with a couch surfed for like a year, kind of a couch surf. Like I stayed in spare bedrooms, and then my friends had a kid. Then stayed with like my buddy's mom in the city, and again, at that point I had a car, but
Yeah.
walked everywhere, and now I've been here 6 or 7 years. I've been in Philly now, so almost as long as I was in Florida.
Yeah. And like when you grow up down the shore, do you like, is Philly like a day trip destination, or are you thinking like you might as well go to New York City? Like for like big city, were you closer, you would say, to Philly, or were you like, I might as well go to New
I
York City?
I was always drawn to New York.
Yeah.
My family, like my mom's side of the family's from like Union area up there.
Okay.
It's North Jersey. We did go to Philly like occasionally. My grandmother would take us to like Walnut Street Theater and stuff. My mom
Oh,
would take
nice.
us to South Street. I'd occasionally go to like a Phillies game or something like that. But
Right.
for the most part, we traveled to New York City. My mom liked New York more.
Yeah.
She still likes New York more, even though I live here with my wife and her granddaughter.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it was always close enough. And then when I moved here, I fell in love with the city. Like it's perfect.
Yeah, dude. I think there's something cool you said about like the idea of walking everywhere. I think that's like, if I had to say what makes me miss the city, that's in my top 5 for sure. Um, because now it's like walking's great, but I'm just walking around the neighborhood, which is a totally different thing. And
Yeah.
when you're in the city, you can get to a restaurant, like you said, you go to the doctor on a walk, and like
Yeah.
I think like there is something special about. I mean, nowadays it's like you can throw your headphones in or whatever it is, but like just taking a walk, dude, getting outside, like it's so underrated. And I think like just to clear your head, there's nothing better than just getting outside
Mhm.
for a walk. And when you're forced to do it in the city, it's like almost even better because you're getting to your destination versus now I got to drive. It's not too far, but like, at least a few minutes to get anywhere. And I've never been a big driver myself, to be completely like, I don't think I've told this story on the pod, but I failed my driver's test 2 times before the third time finally passing, dude, because I didn't do driver's.
Written or like the driving part?
The
Was it the written
driving
test
part.
or?
And one of the
All right.
guys literally told me, he's like, Ken, you know what, I'm gonna and at the time this like crushed me, dude, because I was like, everybody's starting to drive and all the rest of it. He's like, you know what, Ken, he did okay. He's like, I could probably pass you, but I want you to spend one more month basically getting hours in, because he's like, you drive a little bit too much like an experienced driver right now, and like you're not, like, basically he was saying I wasn't being cautious. Like he like
Yeah.
thought I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I guess there was like a stop sign that I didn't stop at for quite as long as he wanted me to, and it's like, dude,
You weren't
come
10 and
on.
2. You were like rolling the wheel, you know?
Oh, it was one of those, like, I guess I didn't come to a complete stop, but in my head I was like, like, what do you mean?
I'm good.
It was terrible. But yeah, so I think something about walking around, I do miss that about the city. And like, would you say out of all the places that you lived in the city, is Northern Liberties like the spot? Are you more of like an old city, or like what's your ideal living destination in Philly right now?
That's tough. Northern Liberties I like for the walkability,
I love it.
to your point. Like I love and this kind of ties into like not driving as much as I put in ways for like where I know I'm gonna go. Like I know how to drive to Manahawkin to Long Beach
Yep.
Island. I know how to drive to work. I put it in to avoid traffic. Like with walking, there's kind of like that explorability aspect of like you never know like what new restaurant you might see, or what like you all of a sudden you're jonesing for a beer. Like you just pop into a random bar and notice that you're not welcome there. But you grab one anyway. It's happened before, like around the corner from my house, Osteen's. I can't stand that bar, but I just popped in one day and I was like, "Oh, this is awesome." It wasn't my scene. So I love northern liberties and that aspect of it, and being able to run out and grab milk for my daughter when she needs it after I put her down for bed, hop on my little bike and go pick up a 6-pack or a bottle of wine or whatever it may be. Like everything's super convenient, and it feels like Center City. I know I would love living in Center City if I ever lived there. I didn't. But my all-time favorite house, Ken, you were there, was One
Oh,
Water, which is
dude.
right next to the bridge, and that was like my childhood dream was always like living in a kind of a high rise with big glass windows. And my wife and I had that. Girlfriend at the time had that, and then COVID came, and we got out of there and needed more space for a number of reasons. But I mean, No Libs is great. I lived in West Philly for a little bit. I had my own studio apartment there. It was facing the wrong way though, so again, it had the glass, Ken, but it faced out
Uh,
like west, and I was like, I can't see anything good. I lived in South Philly, like Point Breeze area for a little bit with my buddy George, and I also lived like really close to like Penn and that area of West Philly with my buddy Matt's mom. Shout out Matt McAndrew for those voice fans out there.
Heck yeah, dude. And you've been in one of his
But a
music
long-winded
videos.
answer.
You've been in one of his music
Yeah,
videos, if I remember
I have,
correctly.
yeah.
We can tag that in the description if we want.
We'll get Matt in here. Um, but
Oh,
yeah,
heck
man.
yeah,
I
dude.
mean, but cities like it's so neighborly, right? Like there's so many different areas that you can find what you're looking for depending on what it is. Like there's parts of the city that I still haven't explored, where I'll tell my wife that I'm like, I've never been here before. She's like, what? So there's always something new to look for.
Heck yeah, dude. A part of
Yeah.
me definitely misses it. I think you're a city guy at heart, and even if you ever move out, I don't think that'll leave you. So, dude, talk more about the bike that you drive around the city. Tell us about maybe a couple close calls you've had. I'll tell the listeners. So, one of my favorite pastimes at work when I'm in the office is seeing Devin, this huge. I mean, what are you like 6'3"? You're in the 6 feet
Six
range.
two, yeah,
He's a big
six three.
guy. He's a big guy, and let's just say when he is on his bike, it is a spectacle because of how large Devin is. Hopping on this little bike that what's the top speed? 20 miles an hour, something like that?
Yeah,
25?
I've gotten up to like 20. Yeah,
So he's just
it's cooking.
whipping this little mini bike, and it is one of my favorite things. Looking out the window and seeing you zip by in that
Yeah,
thing, dude. I feel like you could spot you out of a crowd like it's nobody's
just
business. But yeah, talk about some
cruising.
close calls. Has it been any dangerous situations? Or
Uh,
like you're not on the sidewalks of that thing, right? You have to be on the main
no,
road,
no, I'm in the bike lanes.
bike
And
lanes.
I'm older now, so like I'm careful about it. When I
Yeah,
first moved to the city, I had like just a regular, like kind of like road bike. That is 2 weeks into the city, I would ride it down. What was that? Like full eight, like 17th Street from South Philly, like all the way down into Center City.
yeah,
And at rush hour, you got people flying their door open and everything like that. But luckily, if you want to call it luck, 2 weeks into my first job in Philadelphia, 2 weeks into living in Philadelphia, my bike got stolen from work. So somebody rolled up. I had it parked like on the bike lock, the whole
yeah.
nine. Caught it on video. I think I might still have the
Oh, they
video.
just clipped the
Um,
lock.
Somebody just ran up with like a
Oh,
plastic bag, clipped it, put the lock back in the bag, and then rolled off with it. And I remember like talking to the front desk, and they're like, "Yeah, we're not. We have a sign that says, put your bike out at your own risk." They're like, "You can file a police report." And I said, "Nobody's gonna find my bike if unless somebody dies on it." So I still look like it was a pretty recognizable bike. I still look to see if like maybe that's mine. But those were the most close calls that I ever had, was like in that aspect. Now, the little shout out Swagtron, the little electric bike that my dad got like the whole family for as almost like a gag gift. So he got
oh,
like my sister,
really?
my cousins, yeah.
That's
Um,
hilarious.
and we just talked about it this past Sunday, and he was like, "I knew you were going to get the most use out of it." And I was like, "Well, we talked about it because we'd see people at tailgates like cruising from tailgate to tailgate on these little electric bikes." And he's like, "We need those so that we can cruise to other people's tailgates." And we haven't done that, but he bought us all of them. And I've been cruising around. The current one that I have, I just surpassed like 350 miles on it,
Oh my
Ken. So like
goodness, dude.
that's how much I use it. Um, but like I'm very mindful of my surroundings when I'm on it, and like a lot of that's from running, like because you
Yeah.
have to have your head on the swivel. There's more close calls with running than on the bike, realistically. Um, but yeah, I mean, I'm just careful. Like I've, the Fifth Street Tunnel from like Center, like Independence Hall, like
Yeah.
to Northern Liberties. There's a good downhill there. I took it today and I got it up to like 19, 20, but it's like a blocked off bike lane. The rest of the time I'm just cruising at like 12 miles an hour and stopping at red lights, like not really doing too much and just trying to stay safe. Cause I'm not wearing a helmet, dude. That would kill my whole vibe to be riding around with a helmet. So I just try and
Oh
be
no.
careful. Yeah, but that's
Oh,
it.
dude, it's talk about running a little bit, dude. You're one of my inspirations when I think about fitness and staying healthy. So like when I met you, I mean, talk a little about that transition, dude. Like you must how much weight did you lose, dude? Like
I
because you
was
went
up
on
there.
I mean not that up there, but like you dropped a ton of weight.
Yeah. Well, that's it. Like, so living in Florida, like I, I drove everywhere. I worked out, but like I didn't really exercise too
Yeah.
much. And then I moved up to the city and I started walking a bunch and doing that. And I worked in the city, so I would walk from my house to work. And then I started at Phenom, um, and was driving. This is before we were at the other office, and I started to pack on like a little bit of the weight. And driving sucks because like it eats into so much of your day, right? Like you're kind of limited, and by the time you get home you just want to sit down, watch something on Netflix, crack open beer,
Totally
whatever it
agree.
may be. Like you're mentally spent.
Yeah.
So I started to gain a little bit of weight. It was also around the time that I met that me and my now wife had become official at that point. So we'll call it honeymoon weight, if that. But when we transitioned to the office in Ambler, I took the train, so I couldn't leave the office. I was stuck, and instead of going out for like lunch or whatever, I would just go out and run on my lunch break, and it kind of became a running gag, because of my running style. Which I've told you this story. I've told I think everybody at the company this story. But when I first moved up to Philly, I wanted to run, and it was snowing, and I was like, oh, it's like the first time I get to run in snow in 7 years. I haven't done this, so I popped the top. I said, I'm running shirtless through Philly. It's 30 degrees outside. I got a beanie on, my headphones, and I ran past a couple of folks on the waiting for the bus, and they said, "Man, white people are fucking crazy." And I said, "That's it. I'm safe. I'm gonna run shirtless in Philly for the rest of my time." And
Oh, it's so
I was
good,
like, "That's
dude.
it. That's it. Nobody's gonna mess with the crazy shirtless guy when it's 30 degrees and snowing outside." So transition. Fast forward. I start working at Phenom. I started running like in the summer, and it's hot, so you run with your shirt off. And then I was like, I'm just not gonna put it back on, and it became motivation for me. Like, Ken, you're one of the people that would hold me to it. I know our old boss Josh would as
Oh yeah.
well. You guys would look at the temperature and be like, "Dude, it's 20 degrees outside. You going for a run today?" And I'm like, "Well, now I have to."
Yeah.
And it has become so much more to me than just exercise. Like, obviously, like I want to like take care of my body, stay in shape, live as long as I possibly can. But it's time to clear your head, where like you can listen to music, but I don't really like listen to music. It's just kind of a beat to run to or whatever it may be. But it's actually one of the ways that I thought of, my daughter's name, was I was running and thinking of names, and it gives you the time to reflect on what you're doing, and you're away from your phone. Have some sort of technology, but it's truly like an escape. The gym, like in between sets, I'll hop on Twitter, I'll hop on,
Right.
LinkedIn, whatever it may be. Like running, you don't really have that opportunity. So I fell in love with it, and now I'm not the same person. If I didn't run today, I think I'm still a little bit the same person, but uh, it gives you time to clear your mind and get in a good mental headspace. For me, at least, they might not be the same for everybody. And then you carry on. Plus, you feel like less guilty about having a beer after work, less guilty about having a whole pint of Ben and Jerry's. Like I earned it. but yeah, and then like it slowly turned into a thing where other people at work would see me who ran, and they'd ask me like if I did races, and I never had. It was just kind of a fun thing, and now started doing some races and things like that. And it's just setting goals. Like I always have to set a goal for myself to try and achieve it. Otherwise, I get bored. And it's with playing something as stupid as playing video games with FIFA, where like I want to reach a certain number of goals. It's going to the gym. I want to lift a certain weight. With work, I want to reach a certain number or metric. And if I don't have that, I won't do it. So last thing I'll say, running started, I had a goal to run like 180 miles and a half a year. That then increased to, 365 and 600, 500. And I think I just passed this past year, 800 miles running. So I was like, feel good about it. It's fun, man.
Let's go.
And now like I'm a dad, like I need that time to run.
Yeah. Yes.
You know?
And like, I think as much as physically you're in great shape, I think you talked a little bit about just the mental side of that, dude. Like you're unwinding from whatever stress you have going on. So like not only the physical aspect of that, but just completely clearing your head. And then you talked a little bit too about like running in 20 degrees with your shirt. Like you're one of the people that taught me you really do have to get comfortable being uncomfortable. And like that, when I think you were probably one of the first people who even said that to me. And I was like, what does that even mean? Comfortable being like, isn't there something to like just being uncomfortable? Because like whatever it is, right? Like for me, I've always been sort of uncomfortable talking to people and like being myself. And you might not have seen that side of me because you met me at work, but like, dude, growing up, I was not the same person at home as at school, right? I was the shy, quiet kid, and it took me forever to just get out of my own head about it and just be like, oh wait, they're human beings too. They're going through the same challenges as me in a lot of cases. And for me to be shy and just not speak up ever, like it's doing nobody any good. And I think like just getting over your fears with something as funny as running. Like, dude, that's something I would never do. Like 20 degrees, it's a little chilly, bro. Getting the nips out in 20 degrees. That's
They're hard too, dude. I'll tell you, man, it's not fun.
But
No, I
yes,
mean
dude, that
it's
takes you far, man. Being uncomfortable or being comfortable when you're uncomfortable.
when and people find their own ways to do it, right? Their own ways to like express themselves and stuff like that. And it's a mental thing, right? Like I told you, I have to have a goal. Like
Yeah.
my goal for even if it's just going out and running, it's like, all right, I want to get 2 miles, right? Or whatever it may be. It's just starting that. And every time you do anything for the first time, it sucks, right? Like, and
That's a fact, dude. Like you can't think of and how much better is it on the other side? Like, and once you've
yeah.
done that, you're like, oh wait, I can do that. And like with you, it's like, oh yeah,
Mhm.
I'll set this goal, run 2 miles this day, 3 miles the next. Like you just kept upping it, and now you're running marathons. It's like,
Yeah.
and that I don't.
Close,
I'm
close. I
I'm
didn't I
curious.
didn't run the
Yeah.
marathon. That's still a
Oh
goal.
yeah. That's an exaggeration, but that's next, dude.
Yeah.
And I'm curious to see
Yeah.
what like how far you even take that, dude. You're gonna be the next like David Goggins at a certain point, but it's
Well, I
insane.
mean, you listen to like all of those like TikToks and Instagram shorts, like, and like some of it's BS, right? Like where it's just like, oh, somebody's just trying to get motivation, get
Yeah.
influence. But like you can take aspects of that and apply it to whatever you're doing. I mean, you could do a push up. It could just be walking, like whatever it is. It doesn't even have to be physical activity, like reading a book, whatever the hell it is. It's like, all right, I'll just read one page. Cool.
Yeah.
The next day you might read two. You might put it down for a week, but if you hold yourself to that, and like the apps are doing it, like now I have Apple Books and it's like your goal is to read 20 minutes a day. And I'm like, all right,
Oh,
I'll just
nice.
set out and try and read 20 minutes a day. I don't.
Very
I'll
cool.
read 20 minutes a day for a whole week and then I'll put it down. But it's like a nice little release of endorphins that tech is doing so that they make more money off of you.
That's actually really cool, dude. I've been trying to books are hard for me. Like I grew up around so many books because my parents like were that was
Yeah.
like their business was books. They're always talking about books. Oh, read this, makes you smarter. And like I knew that. Like I was like, yeah, it does make you smarter, but I was like, it's on TV anyway. Like I can learn through TV
Yeah.
and all the rest of it. And like, but now, I mean, dude, like it's, now that I'm on paternity leave and don't have to on the laptop as much, dude, it's
Yeah.
nice to just open up a book, dude, and like you just get lost in there for a little bit. But
Oh,
it's more, I think, because it's out of my own will and it's not my parents being like, oh, Ken, you got to read this amount of books for your summer reading or whatever it was over the summer.
mm-hmm.
But yeah, no,
Dude,
there's
I didn't
something.
even used to do summer reading. I used to listen to like books on tape and just play Madden while it was in the
Yep,
background
yep. There you go,
going.
dude.
Like, yeah, I don't know anything about The Hobbit. And then, like, to your point, the movies, like, I remember watching stuff and like being like, oh, that counts as reading the book, whatever it may be. But
Mhm.
now, like, I'll go out of my way and I'll hop on the websites and be like, what books are being turned into movies? So like I'll try and read that, and it'll be like 2025, 2026. You get plenty of time to do it. And I'm like, all right, I'll do it. I did that with like Ready Player One,
Okay.
the like video game movie, and I was like, all right, cool. Let me see what it looks like on that. And then you find shit that you like. Like I've started to move. If you like books, dude, I'll lend you McConaughey's book is really good
Oh, I
called
have
Green
that one.
Lights.
Green lights. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Dude, it is
that's
good.
a
It
good
is
one.
good.
And
He
it's
cracks
funny,
me
like
up a little bit, but dude,
yeah,
he's got some good points, dude. He's
yeah,
like
man,
people hate on him a little bit and like, oh, it's McConaughey. Like, but dude, I don't know, man. It's a good book. And
yeah.
he's got a cool background.
Hmm.
But yeah, that's a good. I'm reading the oh, what is it called? It's about the Comanche Indians. I always forget the summer Empire of the Summer Moon right now. It's
Is it
really
good?
good. Yeah, it's like it keeps you into it. And it just there's so much I'm learning about like holy crap. Like I did not know it was like that back then. Like just to think about what it would have been like before all this technology and stuff that we have and
Yeah,
just what our country even looked like before, we came and did our thing. But yeah, dude, reading is underrated. And to anyone out there who was in the same shoes as me and Devin, where you're like you think you can get it all on TV and all the rest of it, which to some extent you can, but there is something special about kind of being in the pages. And
yeah.
uh, I think my parents are right that it does make you smarter a little bit too.
It does. I try and read before every day, like when I'm on the train, because I feel like it increases my vocabulary. The current book I'm reading, I kind of picked up in a bookstore as a joke because I wanted to put it on my desk. It's called Murder Your Employer. Um,
Dude,
it's like it's a fiction book. Like it's not like it,
that's hilarious.
but
That's a
I
good
make
prank
the joke, and I've told Monica that I'm reading it, and she's like, "Should we be concerned?" I've told like other coworkers about it, and I'm like, "No, like it's a good fiction book, but like you find out what you like: exercise, reading, movies, writing, whatever it may be." But yeah,
Heck yeah. So, dude, I wanted to, while I have you here, I want to talk about sort of your current modern day expertise because you're skilled in many different areas. But I think for me, it's been cool to see your journey from you're doing sales, and then you're one of the first people I saw transition from sales to marketing. Which definitely made it a lot easier for me to do, and you sort of paved the way as far as that goes, and got to see you kind of explore your creative side with marketing, and you're doing slide decks and all the rest of it. And then speed us up to where you're at now, because to me it's so fascinating because Devin is one of my only friends, if not my only friend right now, that is a very adamant anti-social media guy when it comes to his personal accounts. So Devin, and this is like, to me, this is like super cool. Like I've always been like, I wish I could do this myself, but like took himself off of Facebook, off of Instagram, all the socials, and just said, all right, this is not good for my, I think it was your mental state at the time.
yeah,
I'll let you clarify, but said he couldn't do social media. He's off of it. Like, cause I remember when we were first starting to become friends, I'm like, oh dude, like where's your Instagram account? Let me see
yeah,
that. And didn't have it. Like there's nothing on there. There's no trace of this guy online. I'm like, who is this guy? Like, what is going, like,
yeah.
it's so cool though, because there's so much out there about the dangers of social media and all the rest of it. But for your current day job, you are a social media manager. Talk us about that, dude, and how that works.
So it's wild, man. I mean, so to give a little bit of background, like I kind of had to live, wouldn't say like a double life with social media, but there was a point in time where I met my wife at work, and we couldn't really talk about our relationship or post it out. So I kind of had I didn't have to. I kind of portrayed like a single lifestyle, like if you
Mhm.
will, like where there
Mhm.
was nobody else in my pictures. And then we, became kind of official, and we did the Instagram announcement where it was like a picture of the two of us in Italy and like that. And like it's fun. You release your dopamine that way. And we found that, and we still do it to this day. Like I have like my own personal X or Twitter, but it's mostly to keep up with news, sports, and music. However, like you get sucked in and it causes arguments like about nonsense. You find your own echo chamber of like what you want to hear, what you want to do. And like I see it all the time, like with my family, my dad, like my mom, like they have their opinions and it's solely shaped on what they hear. Like
Yep.
was texting my dad today about the Jets, and he was like, fire everybody. um, you know, uh, uh, I don't know when you're going to air this, but like obviously Aaron Rodgers is out, Zach Wilson doesn't want to come back in, and I'm like, you take yourself out of that for a second, and I promise I'm going to have a point here. And it's like, who's saying that, right? Like everybody wants everything right now. So my girlfriend at the time, my wife now, kind of sat down and we're like, do we need this? Do we need Instagram? Do we need Facebook? And it was like, no, like if people want to get in touch with us, they can. Like
Yeah.
we didn't have a kid at the time, and it's a challenge to live your life like that. Like you lose friends that you thought you had. You stay out of touch with people. This is depressing to hear, but like you hear about people's deaths from text messages, right? Like former friends, like that way, where it's like you get kind of word of mouth news about stuff that isn't on a global scale, but also like you don't necessarily need to see who's in an
Yeah.
argument with who,
Yeah.
or where somebody's traveling with, because everyone puts on a perception with social media, and when you don't have it, you put on a perception in real life and you fake it till you make it. No, I'm
Yeah.
kidding. But it allows you to kind of focus on that. And then full circle, like after being off of it for so long and now kind of being back on social media because of work, um, I see like the way that my habits change. I see how it gets sucked in. Like there's going to be research papers in the future, not just about like regular people who don't use social media as a job. Like we all know that that is detrimental to your mental health and everything like that. But like folks who do it for a living, like you're on it all day, and like see things that you wouldn't typically see. You're constantly like trying to pull content from other ways, shapes, and form, and it's just like the algorithm isn't the way it used to be. Like, you used to just be able to hop on and see stuff that you knew and
Yeah.
stuff that you liked. I'm hopping on the corporate accounts for Twitter and for Instagram, and it's serving me up stuff that like I never would have anticipated ever seeing. Stuff about wars, stuff about political opinions, stuff about new technology, and I'm like, I sometimes you don't need all that information. You just have to worry about what's for you. And like me and my wife, we still have discussions where we feel like we're missing out on our friends children's lives or things like that. We don't know when people get married, when they do that, because we don't like their posts. Like, and that sounds ridiculous to say, but like it's like, oh, hey, you got married, like nobody knows. Like 90, like the people that know me know that like I'm married, but there are close friends from college, close friends from high school, people that I thought were going to be lifelong friends. They like have no idea that I got married because I didn't post any pictures on social media. They have no idea that I have a child, Ken. Like it's
Yeah.
shocking to them. I had a buddy come up um, from St. Augustine, and we were just out at a bar. Like he was working in Philly, and like he was like, dude, I can't believe you got married. Like I had no idea. And I was like, yeah, man, like life happens, but not everybody has to know. Like there's something to be said about keeping some stuff to yourself and you know not posting things. And like that's the thing that scares me the most, is like thinking about my daughter like growing up is like,
Yeah.
and other people's children who post their kids all the time. Like
Yeah.
there's a track record of them from the day that they were born to when they turn 18. And we can't say that about anything else. Like if they're on Facebook or whatever, there's pictures like they can find your grandparents, in Facebook or whatever it is, and like
Yeah.
look back. Like that's wild to know. And there's a cool aspect to it, but it's like some things like Ken, there are photos of you, I'm sure, from a baby where you don't want them shown. I'll never forget this story. This is crazy, but I was in high school and my mom was friends with this like neighbor. I moved away to a different town, and then that girl like ended up coming back, and
Yeah.
her mom like showed in high school, middle school, like young. Her mom still had pictures of like us in the bath, and I remember her like as like a
Yeah.
na 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 sort of thing, like bringing in those pictures of like me being like a 2 or 3 year old like in the bath, and at the time like I'm a naked baby, like you're in high
Yeah.
school, you're insecure about your body, the whole nine. Um, Never was had anything to be proud about, Ken. Uh, but neither here nor there. Like those that was something that just happened in like high school, and I like was felt some type of way about it. Now those pictures are out there forever. Like they're
Yeah.
screen grab. Like people can go back and look at that. And obviously the world is different, and like everyone's used to that. But it's a little terrifying to think like your son, your daughter, whoever it may be, like they meet that person that they fall in love with, and all of a sudden it's like down this rabbit hole of who's like what ex-girlfriend they had, what ex-boyfriend they had, like where they traveled to, what their political views, where they fell on certain issues. Like all of that's documented for the world to see, and like whether your account's private or not, like people will find it.
Oh,
I don't know.
exactly.
That's a
Yeah.
long-winded way of getting on my soapbox and going through that. But yeah, it's tough on your mentals to work in social, but it also gives me more reason to not get back onto it, because I
Oh,
can
heck
kind of
yeah.
separate the two aspects of that.
Yeah, and I think like a lot of the dangers that you're talking about, like you're saying that, dude, studies will come out years and years and years down the line. I don't think anybody like there's not enough data really for them to look at this point to make a full conclusion on it. But what I will say is that like if you do what I've been trying to do, which is really hard, if you can do like a Sunday or one of your weekend days with no phone, or basically,
Yeah.
try to keep your phone away from you as much as possible, dude,
Hmm.
it is like freeing to say the
Yeah.
least. Like when you don't have to even think about like not only who's texting you, but like, who's liking this on social media or who's posting whatever it is on social media. You just take that out of
Yeah.
your brain for like a day. For me is like, dude, it's like a total reset. And you're like, wait a second, like, why do people post all these stuff? Like, it's been a while since I've really been like an avid poster on anything, which that makes me
Yeah.
feel a little weird too, where I'm just like, why does my brain want to go back and like see what other people are doing? Because I don't even post much on there myself. So it's just like,
Yeah.
that's like what I don't forget what the social term for that is. I'm like a scroller or whatever.
Hmm.
I don't really post much, but yeah, there's something definitely hilarious to me that you were the one that saw that early on and were like, yeah, like, nah, I need to be off this. This is like not good for my health. And now like you're one of the better people at actually doing it from like a social media management perspective. Like you're a very creative person. Like you're a lot of your skills kind of make you do well on social media from right now from a corporate perspective. But it's like on the weekends, are you just completely like, do you feel like you've just been engulfed in this for all week and you're like, let me put my phone down? Or like, do you still kind of, because you want to set your posts up for the coming week, are you still kind of like, is there a day or time that you just kind of put it away or log out, let's say, of any of the social medias, or are you still kind of engulfed with it?
Mm, no, I'm on it now, dude. They got me hook, line, and sinker.
Yep.
But if for a different reason, like
Yeah.
Sundays, like I can't not have my phone because I'm seeing what the Jets beat writers are saying, and
Yep.
Trevor Simeon's going to play quarterback.
Yep.
I got to see who's inactive, who's not. Um, I'm better about like some stuff, like uh I'm not on TikTok nearly as much as I once was, like on the weekends, and like that's like a mind suck if you,
I haven't even downloaded it, but I will say
dude.
Instagram is like the same, the reels or
Yeah,
whatever they
where
are
it's
the
just,
same exact thing. You could
um,
be on there for
but
2 hours and not even realize. You're like, what
and
did I
have
just do with my
no
day?
idea, and
Yeah.
you're like, what am I watching? And then like that's like the other thing that like I'm fighting the good man's fight on like our corporate social. It's like I don't want to just post like clickbaity shit to get it, right? Like there's no need to like you'll never believe what happens next. And it's like, oh, like there's a couple people on TikTok that I love where it's like, oh, he figures out that there's another way to open this door and this stuff like they kind of spoil the ending because you
Yeah.
don't need to waste 2-3 minutes watching these crazy things. But yeah, removing yourself from what people are being inundated with on like a regular basis where it's like what genuinely interests you and what are you engaging with just because it's there, right? Like there's so much stuff where it's like learn these five, chat GPT hacks. And it's like who's actually looking at that, right? Like who's using it on a regular basis. Like and then you apply it to like a corporate perspective and it's like, all right, what kind of posts do you like? Is it movie posters with people photoshopped onto it? Yeah, I like that. Cool. We'll promote our, event that way. We'll drive people that way. People's
Yeah.
attention spans are so short, and you realize it when you step away for a moment and you're like, oh, yeah, nobody can hold a conversation anymore. But running is where I get to put my phone down, like like exercising and like kind
Yep.
of doing that. And also like there are, different different times where I get to kind of decompress when I ride my bike.
Yep.
Can't necessarily scroll during that. I try and read on the train instead of mindlessly scrolling, doing that. So like you have to be a little bit self-disciplined to it, but there's no set day where I'm around it. I would love to try that where
Yeah.
it's
No, it's like
you know
insane, dude. And like even to get something on the TV, I have to cast it now, which is good. I love it. It's like
Mhm.
the best thing ever. You just
Yeah.
cast it, but like you're on your phone, so it's like there's like
Mhm.
almost no way to completely. I mean, there is a way to just do like a completely phone free day, but
Yeah, you
I
gotta
think
get
dude,
a flip
frees
phone.
up. Yeah. Oh, flip, dude. I got to go back to a flip phone. Oh my gosh, but it frees up so much brain power, dude. Like it lets you just kind of use your brain for probably more things of what it was. Like dude, I don't even like how much time I spend on the laptop when I'm working and all the rest of it. It's like I kind of want to go back to the farming days or something. I just all this
Yeah.
technology, man, is like there's definitely some awesome positives about it, but like I don't know, man. It sounds like your time off of Facebook and Instagram probably did a lot more positive than you miss a couple people's birthdays and all the rest of it, but it's like I feel like so much brain power is probably unlocked by, and I think I really want to try it, dude. We had such a battle on do we want to post anything, now that I have a son, Luke's around. So it's like, do we want to post him? Do we not want to put in like, so Tyler eventually was like, all right, let's just put this one up. But like, we haven't put, like, it's just, you don't, to even thinking about that is so weird for me, dude, because I want him to have his own life. Like, I don't want to be putting stuff out of his will. He's not even old enough to be able to decide on that kind of stuff. So it's
Yeah.
like, just feels weird. I don't know.
Dude, my mom, like when we had our daughter, my mom like posted a picture of a mug that was like grandmother. And I was like, why like just enjoy the moment for yourself.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you don't need she's like, well, people want to know, like in her post, she was like, out of respect to the parents, I'm not gonna post a picture. It's like you're just causing drama to cause drama, right? And maybe that's just a my family problem, which is a whole nother
No,
issue.
no, 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 dude.
But
That's
like
very
it's
common.
like you think of these things and it's like do you need it, right? Like, can't you just kind of enjoy the moments for what they are? Take pictures, like look back on those and do it. Like, I would encourage that. But also, like, my wife was telling me that I was videotaping my daughter like dancing, and she was like, all the videos that you take are like 15, 20 seconds. She's like, do you remember videos when we were kids? They were 7 minutes long. Like, you got to see the whole thing. She's like, let it run. And I was like, you're absolutely right. Like, I'm not posting this for video content to cut up and make short. Like
Yeah.
I'm gonna want all of that as much as I can. And like I get the fact that like social media is a place to look back on your fondest memories. But it's also cool to just scroll through pictures and see what didn't make the cut, right? Like what were those moments in between the highlights of your life,
Yeah.
right? Like where, you know, you just kind of hung out. So that's
Yeah.
and if you don't have an Instagram, you have to go through your camera roll. You have to do all that. But
Yeah.
just posting shit to get likes from other people's opinions seems weird. And now it's my job. to do that for a corporation.
Yes, dude.
Yeah,
It's and you freaking
I
crushed it too.
sold my soul, dude.
I know. Like, do you think this is a long term? Like, is there a point that you would reach where you're like, I just because I mean, you went as far as deleting your personal pages. Like, is there a point you think that you could reach where you're like, all right, I can't even look at this thing anymore. Like, I'm just off of it. Like, do you think you'll ever reach that breaking point where you just got to be completely off of it?
Yes and no. I mean, the tricky part is they're all designed to keep you on there. So
Oh
like,
yeah,
I didn't have the Instagram app on my phone up until like 2 or 3 months ago, and I've been doing this job for a year. So everything I did was through like our posting tool. And
right.
then like it got to the point where there's like restrictions on how long the video can be that you post, or you can't post stories or reels like unless you're on a mobile device. So like they encourage you to get it on your phone. And like there's editing and stuff like that. Like it's all to keep you on there, and like you just have to kind of be cognizant of it. So I think there's gonna be a time where I'll probably reach the point of like, all right, it's after 6, like no more of this app, no more of this app, no more of whatever it may be, or turn it off for the weekends. Or ideally, like I would love to get like a work phone and keep it all separate, like on that. Like that's like I know we kind of joked about the smartphone thing, but my buddy Matt, who I talked about a little bit, he is a musician, right? Like that's his career. He needs to
Yeah,
have social media to increase his following. He does everything through the computer. Like he doesn't have any real apps on his phone. He uses it for directions and texting and stuff like that. But like when he posts on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, whatever it may be, it's all strictly on his laptop so that
interesting.
he doesn't consume himself in it. Maybe I'm giving away his secret or something like that, but
Dude, that's a
it's
really cool tip.
yeah,
Yeah,
like I mean
off your
it's
phone.
something to try. Like if you wanted to do it, like the bullshit games and stuff like that, like just delete them and use it for your music.
Yeah. Well, dude, with
Um,
I guess because you have Instagram now, did you see all the people posting their Spotify Wrapped and all the
yeah.
the annual stuff for the year? I think
Oh
we'd
yeah.
probably be doing the audience a disservice if we didn't quickly go over our top five, dude. Because I wanted to hear your top five. I think you might have tweeted it.
100%.
If you did. But
Uh,
dude, this was the first year in my history of Spotify. And anybody like my buddy Zach, who's known me for a long, long time, knows my musical interest, is probably going to be surprised to hear that a couple country artists snuck into my top
ooh.
five, Devin. And I have historically not hated
I
country, but that's the
I was a
one.
country hater as well.
That was
I
the one that I could just never get like into my system, dude. Like country, I always thought it was, a lot of music does sound the same, but country for whatever reason was like every song just sounded the same to me.
yeah.
And
No,
now I'm like
100%.
full blown like there's a certain vibe for country. You're out like at the beach, at the pool, like in the summer, dude, at a cookout, whatever. Like dude, they sucked me in. These guys like Zach Bryan and
Yeah.
Morgan Wallen, dude. Like I don't know, man. It's fun, but
I
yeah, I
no,
think they're my. Let me pull it up.
I've certainly my music taste has changed over the years, and can get ready for this is probably your last good year of Spotify Wrapped. I'm gonna let you know right now
Why?
because it changes when Luke starts wanting to listen to music.
Oh, dude, I know. Dude, the Jonas Brothers were my top three because of Tyler.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
The
Dude,
Jonas.
I'll let you go first, and then I'll run through mine
No,
because
you go first. You go
it's
first. I can't even
comical.
find
All right.
mine. Oh wait, I found it. Yeah, you
Um,
got.
so let's see. Like, I'll go to the back. First of all, like, I'm a big Drake guy, so
Oh,
I
you
was
gotta have it.
proud. I was like the top. This is probably a detriment to who I am as a human, but 0.01%. I was like one of the top listeners.
That's so funny,
Um,
dude. I love it. You like
and
his
he
new
was.
album? New album? Like, are
I
you
do, yeah, yeah. I like
big
the
into
new
it? Okay.
album. I like the new like six extra songs he put on there too. Like, I enjoy it. It is what it is. Like, it's not. I don't know. it's emotional. I like emotional rap, and maybe people don't. But um, so top artists: Drake, Travis Scott, Meek Mill, Future. Makes sense, right? Then I have Four Town from the movie Turning Red, the Disney Pixar film, is on there because my daughter just listened to Oh Nah, Oh Nah, like that's all she wanted to.
That's
This is
hilarious.
where it gets interesting, Ken. My top songs: Let It Go from Frozen,
I
Nobody Like You from Four Town, The
love it.
Family Madrigal, Waiting on a Miracle from, I believe, also Encanto, and You're Welcome from Moana. So I set the stage with
Wow.
Drake. I listen more than anyone else. Not even in my top songs. Not one. It's all just Disney Pixar. That's it. Well, but it
Dude,
was like a
that's
cheat
amazing.
code because like I put a playlist, together for her,
Yeah.
and whenever she wanted to listen to music, I was like, oh, let me tell Alexa, play the hits, and we were good. But I listened to like 66,000 minutes of music all day. I listen to
Wow, dude.
music, but
That's amazing. I didn't even think about that. I'm so glad I brought this up because I'm sure because like I've already noticed it with Tyler putting the Jonas Brothers on. She's like, "Oh, Luke really likes it." I'm like, "Are you sure about
yeah,
that?" Or but
yeah.
yeah, dude,
Last
it's
year
totally gonna change.
she was one, and like Harry Styles like snuck in there because like I was trying to like keep like kind of poppy music for us like as a
Mhm.
family and get her into that, and then I lost the battle, and it's just musicals and stuff.
That's so good, dude. I love that. Oh my gosh, let me find my top 5 real quick. So I mentioned the country artists, which for the
Yeah,
longest time could not get behind country. I mean, Zach Bryan, is he really country? He's kind of more like folk. But
I like him though.
I've
That
been
whole
loving it.
album, like he's got the self-titled album, right?
Oh yeah, dude, it's
And it's
great.
like Fear and Fridays have
So good.
one thing in common. Yeah, it's really
So
good.
good. And I love his background too, dude. Like he was a military guy, military family. He's the second person other than Elvis Presley to get pulled out of the military for music. Did you know that?
I did
in the
not know
in the
that.
history of the military, Elvis Presley and Zach Bryan, the two that got
Really,
pulled out of the military because of their music career. I was like, holy
that's
crap,
wild.
that's a cool club to be in right there.
Yeah.
So he's in there. Number one, you got Meek Mill. That's we're on the Meek Mill train, being in Philly and running and exercise music. There nobody tops Meek Mill, dude.
Hmm.
That's always in the headphones if I'm on a run. Jonas Brothers sneaking in at number 3.
Yep.
That's pretty crazy. And
Oh, wait, is it like old Jonas Brothers or is it new Jonas
it's all
Brothers?
over the map. That's like her. Tyler loves the Joe Bros. She always has. Like that's the one concert that she frequents if she can make it out to the Joe Bros. There's some songs. Okay, fine. She'll
Yeah.
give me a hard time for not being the biggest fan of the Joe Bros, but it's I don't know. I've never gotten that into them. I like it's not bad music. I'll say that, but it's just never been kind of my style. And then Jack Johnson also sneaking in there, dude. Jack in the
Oh,
summer, bro. That Jack Johnson, he you can put him on shuffle, man, and if you don't feel relaxed by the end of a Jack Johnson sesh, man, it's just so chill. It just makes you feel like you're at the beach or
making
just
banana
doing
pancakes, dude.
exactly, bro. It's
Oh,
just
I know.
great music. So yeah, that's my top 5. I don't think there was anything. What was the one other thing I thought was cool with this? Let me go back to the beginning here. I don't think I was like you said you're in the top like 0.01% of Drake, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I don't think I had anything like that where I was like a number 1 listener. Oh, the
I
one thing I
was.
thought was cool, did you see the Alchemist thing or whatever? They put you in like a category of like the style of music that you or like the way
I
you
think
consume
so.
music. Trying to find that slide. I think like, it came up as like Alchemist for me, which I thought was cool. So I'm always
Yeah,
making
it was.
playlists.
Spent like 8,000 minutes listening to Drake.
8,000 minutes. Let's go,
It's
dude.
just
Oh my
absurd.
gosh, bro. I'm trying to think of the on his new album. There's a couple that I like. Let me pull Drake up. What's his new album called again?
For all the dogs. Yeah, top song,
For All
Let
the
It
Dogs.
Go.
That's right.
I do love this. I loved it so much more when it was only my music. But like, here's the other thing, like because I don't know if you mess around with like the Spotify like AI DJ, where he'll like mix in.
No.
It's pretty cool. Like it'll like suggest songs or like something you haven't listened to in a while, and it's got like this AI automated dude or whatever. But now it's all Disney music. Like I can't use any of
That's
the
so
algorithm
fun.
for it. Like it, you don't know what it's like to be at the gym and then all of a sudden Dina Menzel pops on with, I mean, there's some bangers on the Disney Pixar songs. Don't get me wrong, but it's not the same.
That's so funny,
It's
dude. I wonder that I
parenting
bet you in the
changes your
next
life.
couple of years they'll figure out a way to like separate it. They'll do
They
it
have
like
to.
you know how Netflix has like the separate account thing?
Yeah, yeah.
I bet they'll do it that
I
way
hope so. We'll see. Maybe they
because
have it already,
it'll
and I
get out
just
of
haven't figured it out.
yeah, I'm sure that they'll figure it out if they haven't yet. But I saw they just laid off a bunch of employees. I don't know if you saw that today at Spotify's.
I did not.
They're kind
Yes,
of
it did.
they're pushing for profits is apparently
Yeah,
the moral of the story there. But oh
AI's
my
taking our jobs, dude.
yeah, it's gonna be crazy to see what happens, man.
Yeah,
Well, Dev, I appreciate you joining, man. I don't want to keep you too long here. I know you gotta keep or you gotta get London from school, right?
yeah, yeah. I do, but I had a blast. I hope this episode is decent for you. I know I ramble a bunch.
Dude,
And it's you're in the driver's seat, dude. I am not used to being the one answering the questions. I always ask the questions, so it was fun,
dude,
man.
how soon until you get your own little pod going, dude? It's not as
I
hard as
want to
they make
do
it
it.
out to be. You got to do it.
I know. It's really it's something. I've got like a couple ideas cooking. It's just the time and dedication. You got some time right now
Yeah,
on
yeah, but
being
it's
on maternity paternity leave.
yep. Dude, the time is underestimated too, because the conversation's one thing, but like, oh man, I envy the people that are good at like chopping up the clips and all the rest. Like, I'm not there yet, man, and I don't even know if I'll ever get there. I probably need to get to the point where I could hire like an intern to do all that stuff. But dude, it's a lot of work, and the conversation can be the easy part for sure, but it's like all the extra little behind the scenes things that you actually have experience with the corporate side because you're used to doing the chopping and all the rest of it. But dude, it takes so much
Yeah,
time.
it's a lot. It's it's not fun either. And I don't know if you've run into this yet. Like listening to your own voice
Oh, dude,
becomes
I'll tell
the
you what, man, it's
worst.
hard for me. It's so what I'll do with this episode and what I've been doing is I'll just basically download it like and get you the unlisted version on YouTube so you can just take a quick listen through if there's anything that you want to edit it out or whatever. But um, yeah, like when I send those out, dude, I barely ever hour plus of any of these, dude, because it's like you say it once and then just like you said, you watching yourself, listening to yourself is
Mhm.
not my cup of tea either, man. It's
It's not fun. I have to do it in like 2 times speed, like when I cut up video like for work, because I'm like, let me get through this as quick as possible.
yeah.
It's brutal. But yeah, man,
Oh. Well,
it's
dude,
fun,
thank you
dude.
so much. Thank you so much, and
Thank you, man.
you'll
I
definitely
appreciate it.
you'll definitely be a return guest. I'll get you like if you want to put any of your I don't know if you do or don't, but if you want to put any of like your promotional stuff, your socials or anything you want to tag them in the description, you just let me know. But yeah, folks, this was Devin Foster, and thank you so much, Dev.